I'm Miss Lovett, founder of Event Tech World, joined today by the wonderful Naomi Clare Crellin, who is from Storycraft Labs. So over to you. Tell us who you are. We'll get into the conversation.
Yeah, amazing. It's lovely to be here today, Vanessa, with you. So I'm the CEO and founder of Storycraft Lab. Storycraft Lab is an audience research and design agency for experiences. And we have recently started to develop our own audience tools.
Yeah. So when Naomi Clare first got in touch with me, I was like, I don't get it. You don't have any tech, and your journey has led you,
Yeah.
probably unexpectedly for you, to have to start to create your own tools to be able to get the best experiences for audience members. So I've got a few questions for you, and I've no doubt that some will spin out on our way through that will help, I hope, a lot of people make this connection between audience experience, design of events, empathy, which is a word that you have wonderful stories around, and how technology really plays a part in this. So, as my first question, then, actually, let's go really high level, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah.
What is empathy tech?
Empathy tech is the enablement of the tools that we use to deliver experiences that are putting your customer, your audience at the center of the journeys that we
Nice.
create. Yeah.
Okay, so nice and simple. Don't need to overcomplicate it. All right. Now, when we are creating our events and we're thinking about attendees, we're thinking about their experience, and we start off super innovatively and we've got all these great ideas of how we're going to make this happen. But this is often what gets sacrificed when time is tight, resources are tight, a deadline is missed, something's got to get cut. So why do we as an industry tend to default back to surface level experiences?
Yeah, right. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. We are an industry that is obsessed with production and speed. We're looking to do more faster with less. I mean, that seems to be the thing that we're juggling. Empathy itself isn't a soft skill. It's actually the catalyst for innovation. And it's that first stage of the design thinking process that gets us to innovation. Under pressure, just the word thinking, design thinking, or the word empathy, which is associated with emotion, can be seen as things that slow us down. And that perception of empathy as something that is thought heavy or emotionally rooted is something that we've actively had to challenge, especially when we're within more traditional systematized environments.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens, before I ask this question, I think the other challenge is around measurement as well. And how do you measure empathy? But what happens when we don't think about it? So if we do lose that empathy focus and this concept of building with that in mind, what do we mean? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, at the macro level, you're losing the innovative outcomes that only come from tapping into unmet need. So if you look at the empathetic component of the design thinking process, this is about observing and identifying those gaps that exist in the current marketplace or user experience.
Hmm.
We would miss, if we skip that empathy part, we miss that unmet need. We miss developing the service differentiation that allows us to be category leading. At the experience level, we miss out on the brand belonging and the value. So when you miss empathy, you miss that 167% increase in recommendations that belonging generates. And you miss the 15% bump in pricing that values-aligned experiences produce according to Value Graphics
Ooh,
research. And the
nice.
data is there. At the tactical level, when we skip empathy, we're missing out on the opportunity for social amplification, for meaningful personalization, and for developing the trust that drives both the consideration and the advocacy part of the sales journey.
Okay. There
Yeah.
was a lot there. But the thing that stood out, to me at least, value alignment, which
Yeah.
can lead to increased revenue.
Yeah.
Can't ignore that. Would love to get a link or two from you maybe that we could share
Yeah,
around that.
absolutely.
Brand belonging, like that too. Very pertinent and not something we often get into when we're thinking about event tech either, actually. So I think this is a different way of thinking about how technology can really influence the
Mhm.
event and that brand and sense of belonging. Trust and personalization, two
Yeah.
of my favorite words. Yes, the trust and the brand belonging and the values alignment go together a bit. Personalization, I hope we are going to come on to that because
Yeah.
we're flying over the iceberg on that. It feels like we're hardly even touching the tip of it yet. So let's think a little bit more before we get into the detail of empathy and tech in more detail. Like, when we're designing events, I'm going to go back to what I used to do, and this is a while ago now, admittedly, but we would often say, this event is for this person in this sort of organization with this job title, and this is their demographic info. What's missing when we take that approach? Because times have changed.
Right. And I think this is because as we're approaching this topic of personalization and really how we make it meaningful, this is really key. Those demographic factors, this is the data that we've had as marketers to work with. Certainly, those things are helpful. They tell us about a kind of broad segmentation that we can build some structure around, but they are missing that critical component. They tell us nothing about the person. They tell us nothing about what will make an experience a success for them, what will make an experience worthy of their investment of time, energy, and money. You can design around titles and create tracks for those titles, but that will only work for perhaps 25% of attendees, which is what we've been seeing in our data. And that leaves the rest, a significant majority, navigating an experience that is not built for how they think, how they learn, or how they connect.
Yeah, 25% is low, especially when you then think about of that 25% that it is relevant to, that you've designed appropriately for, what percentage of that are actually going to be in the right place at the right time and
Right.
not taking a call or not getting something to eat? And you're starting to look at really small numbers there. Okay, so empathy, we're learning. This is something we probably should be placing more priority on, but
Yeah.
also building it into our tech planning as well. So, what does this look like in practice?
Well, when you apply it to the practice, you start to unlock those insights into humans around behavioral preference, their affinities, and their values. And when you do that, you can discover that you have senior IT decision makers and architects that have different social connection needs. We can find that C-level executives acquire content differently to mid-level managers. And we can follow through on that understanding all the way to the sales conversation, tailoring those proof points to whether a person is moved by human impact stories or product performance data or innovation narratives or bottom line movement. So this unlocks better experience design that is better for the humans that are navigating our experiences. The experience fits, they're finding things that are comfortable, feel like they have been made with them in mind. But it's also delivering a better commercial strategy for the organizer. You are positioning yourself for success as you move people through these human experiences.
Yes. How do you do that? And also, the reason I'm asking is, in my experience, sometimes it's been quite hard to get folks to engage with information gathering before an event. So, how does that happen?
It has to be fun. It has to be relevant. It has to feel meaningful. We have found that it's best when it's accompanied by an authentic brand voice that explains the intent, transparent. And I think once you find that magical alchemy of the meaning, the fun, the relevance, and the applicability, that is something that people can see as having real value for their experience. So if you're able to demonstrate, engage with us here, share your point of view, not only will the experience contain elements that have been shaped by you, but you're also going to encounter more natural ways of connecting and networking. You're going to be better able to meet your goals for this experience. And when people can see that value, they will engage. And I think that that's what's been missing when we ask post event.
Yeah.
We're not able to say this is going to shape the experience you're going to have in 6
Yes.
months' time. We're
Good
not
point.
going to be able to demonstrate how much we're listening
Yeah.
to that information. So
And
it
so,
kind of
what
flips.
what what would be a good response rate before then to get that sort of? pre-event info flowing in?
Oh, right. Well, I mean, our average response rate on the quizzes that we run is about 58%.
Pretty good.
Which, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
And you're seeing this shift. I mean, we know kind of how to get it all the way up to 100%, and it takes lots of touch points and
Yeah, I bet.
communicating, but you can get it there. But 58% will tell you a lot
Yeah.
about your audience needs. It's going
Yeah.
to allow you to do that gut check on the way that your program is sorted. It's going to allow you to look at what the audience is telling you they need in order to find value and engage and make sure that you can do those fine tweaks to deliver.
When should you be doing this as well? So if you want to influence the agenda, I feel like that must be a golden question by your
It
response.
is a golden question. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the answer is everybody does it differently because, we've got so many different parameters going on. Listen, we've seen people do it with registration, so that the responses of that engagement open up a natural conversation around, here are the things that we've got planned for you. We've seen people do it pre-registration, so that there is this imperative to, we see this result, go check out what's there, and you should be signing up, is a big kind of uh, boon to that conversation. And then we've seen it launched in that kind of 3 to 4 week pre-event period. And that hits those folks that are making the last minute decisions on whether to come and kind of pushes them over. So there are different ways that, depending on your organization and your event and the things that you've got at play, you can plan for. And often it's like a year-on-year decision. First year is usually, let's do a proof of concept. It usually comes in later, like the wheels are in motion. So it's more of it kind of augments the experience journey, helps people navigate complex schedules, find what they want to do, when they want to do it, who they want to meet with.
Yeah. Okay. And it sounds like it's fun for the audience members as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've done some like fun variations as we align it with the brand, tone of voice, and the event thematic. Goodness. We have a core system of IP in the background that kind of drives our algorithms so that we can do this apples to apples comparison of the data at the end of the day and provide those insights.
Yes.
But what we do is we kind of dress it up with a new wardrobe on the front side. So we've had superheroes, we've had astronaut types, the kinds of boots you would wear. We have had fun kind of squishy emoji creatures. It's been
One of the
time.
challenges that I hear encountered when it comes to using any kind of new tech with a senior audience is, will they engage with it? Will they get it? Will they have time for it? Will they be unimpressed if it's fun? I think that's a
Right.
fear that folks have as
Yeah.
well. It's sort of, will they consider it frivolous and time wasting? And, the astronaut boots, does that work for CFOs? I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the fun and senior approach to
Right.
getting them to engage with this empathy tech.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the part of the process that I particularly love, is kind of during the development when we're looking at how we customize the quiz for that particular audience. Because you're right, it has to resonate. And there are those considerations that we're overlaying with the audience and the different levels. We do a really nice job, I think, with the length of the quiz. We've managed to kind of hit this nice place over the 5 years that we've been testing it, where it strikes that balance of not too time consuming, but enough data on the right kinds of questions that people in the quiz are starting to put together, like, this is meaningful. I can see what they might be doing with this information. So we're not just asking them about the kind of, how you like to drink your coffee, or, what kind of shoes you wear to the event. We are asking questions, and there's a lens into the meaning behind it, whether we're asking about leadership or interpretation or learning, that helps to prove out for the most discerning audience the value of that underlying logic, and that there is.
Learning audience. Nice
Yeah,
phrase.
absolutely. And and I think we have the white papers, we have the science for the people that need to see that. That's all available. Oftentimes, and especially those folks that fit a thinker profile, they need to understand that intention and logic and validity is there. And then they'll engage, and then they'll allow themselves to have a little fun. And actually, oftentimes it is that CFO audience that needs, it doesn't have to be a kind of wild photo art type of fun, but they can be given interesting conversation starters that allow them to network more effectively and more comfortably. And that feels more fun for that audience in that moment. Not like that networking was a drag, but okay, that felt pretty good.
Do you see any correlation between conversion rates of folks who complete the insights gathering
Yeah.
compared to those who don't? And by conversion, sorry, I mean turning up to the event.
Oh, turning up to the event.
Sorry.
So this is interesting. We started measuring this initially in the pandemic because there was a lot of drop off between those online events and registrations. And we did find that there was an increase. I'll have to dig up the exact number,
It'd be
but there was a
interesting.
significant enough gap, and I think that comes from this ability to connect with someone ahead of time, let them know what to expect, right? So they're starting to get excited and you're not waiting for them to go in and build their profile and explore on their own. To find those exciting moments. It's kind of given to them ahead of time. The other component that is really helpful for ensuring the show up rate is the social connection piece. I mean, my goodness, this is what we have seen so much impact from, is that people love to share these results with their colleagues and peers. And when we see that happening on LinkedIn, we start to see those conversations within their network start to occur. And when someone has said, oh, amazing, you're going to that event, I think I'm going to go too. That kind of human proof really compounds, and
I see.
it helps to, prove out why they
So
should go.
when they're telling you about themselves before
Yeah.
the event, they get something on the back of that they can share.
Totally. They get their profile result. So it's not just a survey that
Yeah.
goes off
Yeah.
into the computer. They get a result. It becomes their key that they can use to unlock certain tracks, the personalized recommendations, even connections. We now are able to make mentoring connections or social networking connections based on these results. And all of those things help people get excited,
Let's talk about personalization
Yeah.
and AI. So
Yeah.
you've just talked about using some technology to find out
Mhm.
more about people and
Yeah.
then make better connections at a
Yeah.
headline level, which is personalized to them. There's a really fine line between a personalized experience that actually feels personalized and actually is personalized
I'm so for this question.
and something that's AI powered personalization,
Yeah.
which just doesn't always feel like that. Sometimes it does, to be fair, but
Yeah.
probably more often feels generic. So what makes that personalization really feel but also be authentic?
Yeah.
And again, what different experience might the user have?
It kind of comes back to what we talked about earlier. It's that difference in data. Are we looking at the surface data, or are we looking at behavioral science and human values? And I think it's really interesting to look at our industry right now. We're going through this incredible time of learning about how to use AI in its best case, so that it produces the right results. Because you are correct that there is the approach to AI that is faster, cheaper, which,
Yes, which
you
still
know,
has a place.
right? But when it doesn't segment effectively, when it doesn't generate meaningful insights, when it doesn't actually have relevance to needs or values, then it comes off as inauthentic. It comes off as sloppy. It's, the data that you're getting back from that is not useful on the organizer's side. And on the participant side, they get what I've heard referred to as the AI ick, the ick factor, just like that's not, not quite right. So and this is one of the approaches that we're taking at Storycraft Lab, is to develop AI that is using that behavioral science as an underlying logic that tells why and what will actually work for an individual next. The surface trained AI can tell you that senior marketers and finance attend digital transformation sessions, but it cannot tell you that this person is motivated by peer credibility rather than thought leadership, or that they need to sit with an idea before they can engage with it. And that's the difference. So
Yeah.
we need to look at AI as a team member, quite junior. We need to make sure that it has the materials for its own development and success. You can't take a junior team member and throw it into senior level decision making and expect it to be
Make the right decisions.
to work, to land. That's a tough on ramp. So we are really using behavioral science and our research, which is quite deep at this point, to give AI that richer, validated vocabulary for human experience and the ability to tailor not just content or substance, but actually tone and cadence in the way that it's communicated.
It's quite fascinating, I have to say. It's really fascinating. Next question is going to be around AI.
Yeah.
So you are using AI in the tools, platforms that you're creating. And the big differentiator that I'm hearing is this behavioral science element. Like, literally, how does this sort of person behave, their motivators, their drivers, that's something we don't often think about in business
Yeah.
events, particularly.
Yeah.
Lots of your clients are corporates, as massive enterprise corporates. How are they taking this approach to AI? One of the things I'm wondering is, does this get shut down quite quickly? Is this AI, computer says no situation? That might be a very British phrase, computer says no. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Sorry to audience members that might not know that. But how's this landing with the big enterprises and this very human centric approach to AI and personalization?
Well, listen, they're all at a point where they need to demonstrate to their audience leadership when it comes to the AI component of their particular industry vertical, right? So the quiz becomes, and its utilization of AI and the potential for including AI more in the journey with dynamic recommendations and ongoing conversations, that becomes a proof point of their AI literacy, essentially. Some of the corporates have had us rewrite quiz questions and phrasing so that we are understanding where participants are on their own AI journey. And in fact, even their sentiments towards AI. So AI becomes not just something that we are all looking at from an implementation standpoint, but it's actually a new facet for thinking about your audience, because it immediately has impacts for product and community and ongoing engagement. So it's a wild time right now to be kind of right in the middle, and it's still very experimental. And I think that that's another thing that I would put out there as we think about using AI, is just being open about trying new things and inviting the audience to test with you,
Yeah.
right? And
I was going to
oftentimes,
say, you are right in the experimentation zone, aren't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's
And
the
it's a lab
opposite.
in our name, really, I think.
Yes, good point. It's the opposite of AI for cost cutting and efficiency. It really is. It's AI for
Effectiveness.
this deep level of personalization. I feel quite excited about it.
Yeah, me
I want
too.
to.
There are moments when I look at what the team's working on and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe we get to do this, and kind of just get super curious about what we're seeing. It's a nice journey to have other people in on along.
On that being super curious and the people, who are the individuals that you tend to be working with inside a corporate or an agency?
Right. Okay. So we are working with event tech owners and leaders. We are working with marketers. We are working with content leads. We're working with the brand team. What we find is that all of those folks have a stake, and they all have to be brought to the table in a way that ensures buy-in. Because listen, doing new things within large corporates especially is not easy. And the more people that you have that feel a sense of agency and ownership over a new work stream or a new aspect of the event, the more successful it's going to be. So that's actually something that we have built in now to our process, or a series of these workshops that we run with the full team.
Ah, okay.
All those different owners in at the right point. We have like templates that we can begin with to help ease any of the workload, as we're looking at comms and kind of tactical delivery components. But you know what? It's been the event tech leader that I've just been so taken with as we've started to look at what it means to put these tools into practice. And I think it's because of where we are as an industry right now, as we're in this phase of goodness, just navigating the newness of AI, of the acceleration of event tech, of its potential to get us not just in the kind of cost cutting point of view, but to that effectiveness and impact and measurement. And I think it's been that event tech leader that has been the glue, really. And in their background, they know how to bring those different stakeholders together.
Yeah.
It's been that event tech journey that has always touched those different.
Yeah.
So they have a sense for how to manage and navigate a group through that decision-making
Yes.
process.
The
Yeah.
glue, that's a new one. And I like it. I feel like there's something in that. Naomi Clare, this has been fantastic and
Oh.
different and thought provoking and thought challenging as well, actually, I think. Yeah. Already. I'm just going to ask you for one closing thought. If you're if there's a corporate event leader watching this, an agency event leader watching this, thinking about personalization, thinking about connecting with their audience members, what's the
Mm.
one piece of advice you would give them?
Gosh, I would say be bold, be open, be curious, and find the right people to work this through with. If you're doing something new, it is always better with friends, and just enjoy the process, right? There's so much joy that we can get from experimentation when we adopt that mindset of curiosity instead of limitation.
I love it. Perfect way to end. This has been a joy. Thank you very much for coming and joining us on our Event Tech Take. And I will be seeing you in person very soon.
I know, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'll see you in London.
Thank you again.
All right, cheers. Bye now.